My name is Jaely Pereira. I'm a senior at UMass Boston. I am a bio pre-med major and Asian American Studies minor, and I am an orientation program assistant. And I will pass it over to Helana.
Hello, everyone. My name is Helana Castillo. I'm also a senior, majoring in psychology with a minor in criminal justice and criminology. And I also am a program assistant for new student and family programs. And I can pass it over to Emmanuel.
Hey guys, my name is Emmanuel. I'm a junior at UMass Boston studying biology and in pre-PA. I'm gonna pass it over to Gillian.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Gillian. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm a senior. I am studying psychology and I'm also in the accelerated master's program for global inclusion and social development with a concentration in human rights. Really excited to be here tonight. Thank you so much to the Office of New Student and Family Programs for putting this together. I'll pass it over to Dom.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Dom. I am a comm major with a minor in professional and new media writing. I'm very excited to kind of have this outlet for first-gen students to, just give their experience and help other people who might be in the same boat. And I will pass it on to Jeannine.
Hi, everyone. I am Jeannine. I go by she, her, Aya pronouns. I am a rising junior in the nurse major with a minor in human rights and in women, gender, and sexuality studies. And I am a first generation immigrant family from Guatemala. And I'll pass it on to Melisa.
Hi, my name is Melisa Cepeda. I'm a sophomore at UMB. I study both psychology and theater arts. And I'm currently working for the Performing Arts Department as an assistant production manager. So very happy to be here. Hi, everyone.
Thank you all for your wonderful intros. As the audience can see, these panelists are very experienced in their different experience all across campus. So we are so excited to just hear from everyone and hear their perspectives. So I don't want to waste any more time and we want to get right into the questions that y'all can answer. If y'all remember the order that you introduce yourselves in, you can go by that order, or if you don't have something else to say, you can definitely just jump in whenever. But yeah. So we will get started with our first question. This is regarding your support system. So how have you navigated your time in college with your family, guardians, or support system? Have they been understanding, and how do you navigate explaining the college workload to them?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start. When kind of doing the whole application process, my family was very supportive with my whole endeavors for college. They wanted me to do it as well. So they were emotionally there for me, but they didn't really understand a lot of the paperwork involved and a lot of like the formality of it. So I wouldn't say I had to like grow up really fast, but it was a lot of paperwork, a lot of forms and agreements that I had to kind of get situated with. And that was kind of one of the big challenges that I felt. Because I was like, whoa, I'm 18. I don't know what I'm doing,
Kind of like jump off of that. Like, I agree. Like, I had a very similar thing where, yeah, so much support. Like, yay, go you! And like, that's awesome. And I'm really glad that I got to experience that from them. But it was definitely like one of those things. And even now, being at home and having to explain that I don't have all the time that I did in high school because the workload is very different. It's definitely a conversation that has had to have been had a couple times because it is a very different environment than high school. And sometimes that's difficult to understand that like 5 classes in college is not 5 classes in high school. It's like full blown, like each one has its own complications that you have to be able to deal with. So yeah, but overall, even after the conversation was had, it was pretty well understood that I will be spending most of the day in my room. So yeah.
I guess I can kind of go off on what Dom and Melisa said. I'm kind of older than everybody else. I'm 25 actually. So I started as a transfer student. I first went into community college because I wanted to pay college for on my own, so I took a couple years off to work for 2 years straight so I can pay for it. But I didn't want to go into the university straight off the bat, just because money wise, I didn't want to like force my parents into taking out loans for me. So I just decided that I wanted to work, and that's what I did. And then I went to community college, and then I got accepted into the nursing program. But my parents understand that I am a full-time student and I have a full-time job. So they kind of understand that I can't do like everything I'm used to doing, like as in chores and stuff like that. Cause my workload, I guess, it's a lot more, especially as a nursing student, we're competing with our fellow nursing students to get into the best position for clinicals and to keep our grades up so we don't, get kicked out of the program.
Yeah, I think that brings up a really good point about balancing different obligations and having to explain that, since we have these responsibilities as family members, but also as students now. For me this semester, navigating 6 classes and 4 jobs has been really, really difficult because it takes up a lot of like my time and also takes away a lot of the time from those in my life, both family and friends. And so I've been fortunate enough to have the support in those areas to encourage me and to motivate me in continuing to do so. I think COVID has presented new challenges because, as Melisa mentioned, we find ourselves in our rooms all day. And so we need to be encouraged to go outside and eat and take care of ourselves in those really awesome ways. So
Yeah, and I would say I share a lot in everyone else's experience, especially in my family, having to explain that, like Melisa was saying, that college is different from high school, and especially my siblings, because they get out of school at a specific time. So then they want to like engage in activities, and I have to let them know that I'm still, even though I'm not in classes, I'm still spending time studying and just getting ready for the next day.
Thank you for sharing your experiences, everyone. I know it can be a little difficult as a first gen or just even starting college to kind of get that support system going. But it's really important to have that, even if it's not within your family or maybe some friends that you meet in college or just maybe some mentors that you may have. So yeah, thank you for sharing that experience. For the next question, if you have moved away from home, got an apartment, lived in the dorm, etc., what were your most challenging things and what did you learn?
Yeah, so, Melissa, do you want to go?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so I was in the dorms for my freshman year, and one of the largest kind of challenges that I had to overcome was just keeping myself accountable overall, and that applies to so many different things. And whether it be taking up the trash or washing my cup, but also like going to class, like it was definitely a wake-up call, because high school, as I'm sure a lot of us are familiar, you had your parent or your guardian banging on your door in the morning, you got to go to school, but that's just not present, and your roommate is not, that's not going to be your alarm clock. So it was definitely, that was like a wake-up call for me. And that was it was interesting because while you're kind of like learning how to live with someone else, like total stranger that you've never met before, you're also learning so much more about yourself. So like it kind of presents you with like that duality of like, okay, well, I'm learning to take care of myself but also remain considerate of other people. So that was kind of interesting for me.
Yeah, I have to definitely agree with that, especially like that last part about how like, living with another person not only like shows you how to live with another person that like isn't a sibling or a family member, but also like teaches you about how to live with yourself. Because again, it is that kind of situation where, like your roommate isn't gonna like, you know, it's not that your roommate can't like help you through things, especially if you're like end up getting close, but like, you can't just depend on your roommate for things the way you may depend on a parent, because that's they have their own stuff to figure out. And you know um but yeah, I think it is definitely one of those things where one of the most glaring things for me when I first moved to the dorms was kind of like I had a job in high school. I've always had a job in high school. I went to a technical school, so it was like part of my schooling, but I got paid. And so I would have like a consistent like I would have like consistent like financial like okayness on my own end, and I had my parents. who would like give me money if I like needed it, you know what I mean? But definitely in college, you know, I wasn't working my first semester because I didn't want to tackle on too many new experiences at once. Um, but I found that definitely having that like financial of like having to like text my mom because like I need money to do laundry. Like like that was like a thing that happened a couple times where I'd be like, uh-oh, I need $5 to like wash my clothes. So like it's definitely like those experiences that definitely like make you be more like aware of like, wait, I need to do laundry this week, so I can't buy this, or I need to buy myself a lunch because I'm not going to get home in time for the dining hall to be open, so I can't do this. So like, or I don't have any money, so I need to get home before the dining hall closes. It's like those kind of decisions you need to be more cognizant of, because like when you're at home and no matter how late it is, you're probably going to have food in the kitchen, but like if the dining hall's closed, the dining hall's closed, you know? So it's like those little incidences that really like shock you into like remembering things more.
I would say for me, I really had a sort of difficult time my freshman year, especially with trying to balance like a budget. So trying to find whether I should spend the day eating in the dining hall or should I get food in the food court. And also spending like a small space with a bunch of people you don't know. So my freshman year, I lived in a quad with 3 other people. And sometimes we might bump heads into each other. But I guess a good thing is like learning to manage with other people and seeing the type of people that you fit in with and the type of people that you can manage, but you guys don't necessarily see eye to eye on the same level.
Yeah, I just kind of want to add to that. So I'm the first person in my family to kind of move away. In my freshman year, we didn't have dorms, so I lived in an apartment with 3 other girls that I didn't really know. And the experience is just like very eye-opening. There's a lot of things that you don't realize cost money, or like they cost like a grand amount of money. So like for example, groceries, and then you like figure out that, oh, produce goes bad in like 3 days, so I have to go back to the grocery store and get more. Or like I have to do laundry once a week, and that's $4 that I have to account for. And it's just like a bunch of little things that you kind of just forget about when you're living at home, or if you just have someone to kind of keep you accountable. It kind of just like, I don't want to say throws you into the real world, but it definitely like starts to prepare you for your independency. Like high school is a lot of like leaning on your family or your support system, and college is definitely that too. But there's just a different sense of trying to figure out who you are and how to manage that with everything else that's going on. So like school, and then maybe getting a job, and not having family nearby. My family's like an hour away from me, which isn't too bad. But say I wanted to call them or like go over their houses or something, I have to plan that in my day to do that. It'd have to take like a whole day out to actually do that. So it's just like stuff that you would kind of have to think about. It just makes you, I guess, like appreciative of like how high school used to be, in that sense, that you can just like go to your mom's house or like just go to the kitchen and grab something, and or just like go downstairs to the laundry room and just throw your clothes in there so it's ready for the next day. And it's like, no, I can't because I have to wait. There's someone else's clothes in the laundry or stuff like that. So it's just very eye opening.
Thank you all for sharing. I think to get some perspectives on the dorms and an apartment life, show the different avenues that you can do if you do move away from home. You could reside in the residence halls or be on your own in the apartment, but I am seeing a common theme of kind of being on your own and managing kind of your finances and managing your time. So thank you all for your tips and tricks on that. I think those are really, really crucial and important to learn, especially as a first year student going through kind of your years here at UMass Boston and beyond. To learn those things early on is really good. And I know this next question is, I know some folks are probably, because of COVID, living at home. So feel free, even if you didn't live at home during kind of a normal school year. But if you're living at home now and you've kind of dealt with that obstacle, definitely feel free to jump in here. But this next question is, if you did not move away from home and you stayed at home and commuted to school, what obstacles did you face? Are you responsible for siblings at home? Jillian's ready. do or did you work for or with your parents or your family? Do you work a full-time job outside? How do you juggle these and schoolwork? So feel free to jump in with any of these things.
Yeah, I was just gonna jump in and say that even though I didn't move away from home, I would say like I-93 and I became roommates in a way because I spent at least 2 hours out of my day commuting back and forth to school. And this became a really crucial turning point, figuring out like traffic patterns and like making sure you're up and out of the house on time. And then when you're on campus, like, do I want to sit in 2 hours of traffic, or do I want to make use of those 2 hours and find something to do on campus and get involved in extracurricular activities, make use of the library, things like that. It was also tough because I would have to be prepared if last minute plans came about. Not having a space to change or having clothes to change, like you had to be prepared and kind of have those things ready. I miss Bayside dearly. But I would say too, like managing the things that you had to do when you got home. For me, I was living with my younger sister, and so making sure that she was taken care of. She was still in high school at the time. And like having like pups to take care of and things like that. Also still working. And so, yeah, I think commuting was definitely a different kind of challenge just because there wasn't that sense of camaraderie in the dormitories, those types of things. But
Going off to what you just said about that, yeah, the 2 hours always killed me super early. So I used to wake up like super early so I can get there on school super early so I can at least have those 2 minutes to like take a nap in like one of the centers upstairs on the third floor. I used to leave campus like around like 8 or 9 o'clock when there was no traffic. So like, because 5 o'clock traffic was horrible because I live pretty far. I live like about an hour away from campus. So, but then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I didn't want to pay for gas. I didn't want to pay for parking. So I just I started taking like the red line in, which was like super easy. I would take a nap on the train. I actually admit to that. Like I used to take a nap. I used to read, like I'm the type of person that I can read on a moving vehicle, which is like pretty cool. But like living at home is a little different for me because like I'm the oldest. So like I always am like mom. So I have to like make sure that everyone is like eating and stuff like that. But that's the thing about COVID is that now all my siblings are back at home. So I'm no longer by myself. Like I have to make sure everyone is just fed because they're so used to like everybody else in this group chat. They used to live it on campus, and now that their school doesn't allow them to live there, they're all home. So I'm a house. It's a frat house here. Everyone's like hungry all the time, and they all are bored and want to do something. But like I have responsibilities. I'm a coordinator for a lot of the centers at school. I have a full-time job and I have 4 classes, and I have to get started ready for next semester. So it's like a balance. So it's kind of hard, but like the thing to do is just make time. Like people have to understand, like get a job that understands that you're a student and you have other activities. Time management is like the biggest thing that we have to learn to do in college. Learn to spend your money wisely. Like living at home doesn't mean like your parents feed you. Like no, I still have to buy my own groceries and I have to cook. So I have to I rather spend $50 on groceries that can last me like 2 weeks than $50 on like fast food that will make me sick and will just be a one-time thing. I don't know if anybody else has to add on to like groceries and stuff, especially if you live on the dorms.
No, I personally didn't have anything in that regard, but kind of piggybacking off of what you were saying about like that change in relationship from your parents, kind of moving back home, it was definitely weird because living in the dorms, you go home for the weekend or for the extended vacations or whatever it would be, and you're kind of just there and you go back to the dorms. That's that. But now we are fully moved back in, and it was a very big adjustment to kind of reacclimate to my parents' personalities because they still want to treat me, at least in my case, they still want to treat me as like they're, I'm the only child, this, that, and the other thing. But I'm over here like I'm growing into my own person, so it was kind of hard for that as well. But once again, that kind of keys back into the lessons of learning how to live with other people. So I think that overall it's benefited me. But once, I think there's definitely a lot to be said there.
Does anyone else want to jump in for this question?
Oh yeah, there's definitely challenges in both kind of worlds, but it's kind of like a good experience either way. You kind of take what you learn from it, I guess. A lot of like nice life advice, I guess, just kind of preparing you as you get older and just getting those skills to help you. So for the next question, what advice would you give to first year students that you wish you had known as a freshman?
I guess I can start on this one. So my advice for first year students is to not be afraid of like getting people's contact informations the first week of school. Because for me, I actually would wait until the second week of school, and I would wait for somebody else to ask me for like my Snapchat or like my phone number. Yeah, so I would say like you should be the first person to ask the person sitting to your left or right about their number or their email, and you should continue regularly to like keep in touch with them, because as you're gonna realize soon, the classes are gonna get harder, and you're actually gonna need those people that you got in contact with the first week. You're gonna need a lot of help. So it's important to stay in contact with people and not try to navigate colleges by yourself.
I would say too, like we in different programs, different individuals on campus, we say like there's a lot of resources out there, there's a lot of supports for you, but I think just really reiterating the point that it's not that you need these types of supports, but it's that you deserve these supports. Like you deserve to have every bit of academic help, every bit of like social growth. I think UMass Boston does a really good job of building a community of faculty and fellow students that build the whole person. Like we're not just focusing on you as a test taker, we're not just focusing on you as an extracurricular guru. We want to build your whole self and allow you to explore those different facets of yourself. And so like just be open to that, be willing to new challenges, new experiences. Those have been the experiences that helped me grow the most. Like if I leaned into things that I was already comfortable with, I wouldn't have gotten to the point of progress that I feel like I've made today. And so just know that like you're worth it and that like you deserve every bit of good that this university has for you.
Kind of jumping off of what Gillian was saying, like it's one of those things where like you aren't too cool to like go to like a club meeting. Like it may seem like kind of like, oh, like I'm not gonna go, like everyone there already knows each other. Like I know it definitely feels like that as a first year student, or in general, if you didn't do any clubs in high school and this is like your first time really diving into maybe something that you've been interested in and you never really did it. Just like do it, go on you and be involved and check out like what's being offered and stuff like that, because you'll be so surprised like how many different communities of people there are on campus. Try out for the play, maybe like join some sort of like movie watching club. I know like especially now with COVID there's a lot of those, I think. So you just like dive into something that you're interested in and like use that as like a way to meet other people who are also into the things that you're into. And like Emmanuel said, and when you meet those people, don't wait for them to hit you up. Like ask them like, oh, do you have Snap? Like, or like just like be upfront, be like, hey, like maybe we should hang out sometime, pre-COVID when we could just go out and about. But yeah, just like go forth and like actually like do things that like make you happy. Like go find those things, don't wait for them to find you, I guess.
Definitely, I feel that. And on the scope of being proactive and outward kind of focusing, you want to also really be on your advisor's butt and the academic community around you, because, you know, at least when I was in high school, guidance counselors, they were like, all right, here's the classes you can take, here's what you need to do. And you're like, bet. But college is very different than that. It's a very choose your own adventure book, and they give you the lightest requirements on your degree audits and all those other requirement lists. So you want to really get a good kind of conversation going with your faculty advisors and your professors, even, because those are the relationships that are going to benefit you the most in that setting for whatever your professional goals are going to be in the future. You know, and kind of with that first generation thing, they can really act as a source of guidance when your parents might not be able to, you know, give you the best advice in that regard.
Kind of off what Dom says, a lot of your professors will have a lot of influences within the community, especially within the community of Boston. So they can always help you to get internships. They help you to get scholarships. They give you, if you get really close to them, your guidance counselors, your professors, they can help you with recommendation letters. I know my professor, Dr. Shapiro, fortunately she's retiring this year, but I am taking one of her psych classes, and she is great to know no matter what major you're in, communications, nursing, if you're a psych major, if you're a theater major, she knows every ins and out of the community of Boston, and she can get you help in no matter what you need. She'll even like convince you to take a class just because she thinks this class will help you broaden your perspective of, let's say, in my perspective, I'm a nursing student with a minor in human rights and in the women's studies. So she told me like that I should work with other of her nursing students because they have a big project about how we can work with the community of Boston in the healing process, especially right now during COVID and stuff like that. So it's like always get to know your professors, your advisors. If you tell them what you want, they won't be like, no, this isn't it. They'll be like, okay, and then they'll help you actually make your own plan, not the plan that's according to according to like the schedule that you're supposed to be. They'll tell you, okay, so how is this going to work for your major, or how is this going to benefit you in the future, so you're not wasting classes and stuff that you don't need, because you're still, at the end of the day, you're paying for these classes, so might as well get the benefit of it. Your advisor might also help you, or your counselor will help you to make sure that the professor understands like what your needs are. If you're a student that's like, has trouble like concentrating, there's a lot of professors that they understand what it is like to struggle from home. So it's like the idea of like getting help, just like Jillian said, going to if you are afraid to like if you're like suffocating at home, we have the therapists at school, and then guidance counselors are also there to talk to you, like I said, making friends and stuff like that, because during these times, like talking to somebody is going to go a long way. A lot of the centers, I'm part of the Student Arts and Event Council. I'm trying to do a lot of the events for this coming up semester, and the next one to involve a lot of the mental health, because me personally, I've been stuck in a house. It's just from here to my job and back. I can't do anything because I don't want to put my family at risk, and I don't want to put my coworkers and the community I work for at risk. So it's like making these little these little groups of events, just to see other faces, even if it's through a camera, but at least I'm getting to know new people. I'm not afraid. I'm trying not to be afraid to like involve other people or involve other centers, just because we're here for you guys, for the new generation student or any other student, just so you can be part of a community, even if it's a small one, but you're part of something. You're not alone in whatever this is, I guess, in this year that seems like it's been forever.
Yeah, before I go, Helana, do you have any tips for first years?
Yeah, kind of just a collection of everything that everyone has said. You're never not bothering your professors. I feel like going into college, I was like really nervous and really scared to just contact my advisors or just like talk to my professors after class or ask if I have questions or something like that. But you're never not bothering, or you're never bothering them. You're not a burden. This is literally what you came to do. You came to learn. You came to succeed in every way possible. And then, at least in my experience, everyone in my circle has wanted that for me. They wanted me to succeed. My advisors, I'm super close with all of them. I'm also in the honors college, and then I have my liberal arts major, liberal arts major advisor from like my freshman year of college from CLA First. I still talk to them. They're the first people I go to whenever I have questions about my course load. And that's like a 3-year relationship at this point. And I have my honors advisor, and I've had him for about 2 years too. So it's still okay. It's still good. And then I have my my major advisor, and they're all just really open to speaking with you. And it doesn't even have to be about your degree audit. It can just be about just like what you want to do later. Like I've had conversations about my career, like what I hope to do and how can I get there? Like what steps should I be taking there? Another thing I do want to add too, definitely take advantage of the counseling center on campus too. Even though we're online, they still have a lot of services. The website's a little misleading, so definitely call them and ask if you need any help. But yeah, they've definitely helped a lot with me, at least. Just getting through college from my freshman year and just adapting to everything. And you don't have to be. I feel like there's a lot of stigma behind it, and there definitely is. But do it. It makes you feel better. It helps you to succeed. And all you really need to do is call them and ask for an appointment, and then they can see when to pencil you in. There's no cost to you, so definitely take advantage of that.
Wow, this is such great advice. I think what I'll add is that definitely find your people. As a first year, find some folks, maybe 1 or 2 people that you can really rely on and be good friends with, and maybe they'll be your friends for kind of the rest of your schooling at UMass Boston, and just to have them as your core people and have them as your support system is great. And another thing is that you will get through whatever you're going through, and that there are resources at the school, and that like Gillian said, that they're there for you to use. So please use them, please utilize them. And that you kind of will get through, and that it's rough right now, but you'll come away from that knowing something more, like budgeting for laundry or for food. I think was such great points. And I also want to highlight something that Dom said, that choose your own adventures book. I think that's a great concept, and listening to all of your different interests in your majors or your minors or your concentrations, or even on the master's path. I think there's just so much, it's so unique, all of your paths, about how you chose your own adventure. And I think that is super important for us to know, and especially for first gens to realize that, if there's something that you're interested in, like Melisa said, just go out and do that, like try it out. And if it's not for you, then it's not, then it's okay, but at least you tried it out. And if you did try it out and you love it, then maybe you can major or minor in it and continue on that path. So it's just, y'all gave some great advice. And now I want to transition to a favorite, not so much a favorite topic, but I think a really important topic that does apply to high school seniors as well, but also for students that can receive financial aid throughout their schooling here. And every year, as I know Gillian and Helana, we've done it for a couple of years now. So what advice do you have for filling out the FAFSA, or even, we can go through that first. What advice do you have for filling out the FAFSA?
Definitely on my end, I think this is probably like, I think, and I'm just going to say actually for myself, this was probably the most difficult part, one of the most difficult parts of being a first gen student, in the sense that this is a completely new thing. And like, for example, like my parents are from outside of the US. They're from the Dominican Republic. So like, it's even bigger because it's like there's a language barrier part of it. You have to read every question and then try to translate it, but you don't know what finance terms are in Spanish. Like that's the language I speak. So it's like, so I don't know how to say this specific word in Spanish. So Like they don't know what I'm talking about, and I don't know what I'm talking about. So I think definitely like don't do it on the last day it's due, because this is going to be a couple days, weeks process of like trying to maybe even do your own research on it. Like if you see a question and you don't know what it means, your parents are probably not going to know what it means either. So like definitely like go ahead, like look it up, like maybe go on like a website that like explains FAFSA a little bit, like breaks it down, and like look up that question, like what does a blankety blank mean, and do I have that? Like, and if I do, what do I do with it? Because there's definitely a lot of questions on FAFSA that don't apply to a lot of people, or and then there's some questions that do apply to a lot of people, and then you don't answer it, and it's like almost fraud. So definitely like try to avoid making those mistakes, because that could mean the difference between having your FAFSA like denied because it's incomplete because you accidentally missed a question, or having it go through and yay, you get financial aid. So definitely give yourself a lot of time to sit down and really like go through it with, because it's going to take a while. It's going to be a process.
Yeah, going off like what Melissa said, my parents, well, I just put my mother because she's the only one. She also speaks Spanish, so it's always the issue about. My mother lives in Denver and I live here in Massachusetts, so like it's a two different states. So making sure that I got the right address, because once you like click to the IRS part, and we never got the right address. And I have a younger sibling who also uses her, so it's like fighting to like get the parent password correct, or having her try to sign in, even though she's like, it's kind of hard when your parents are like, they don't speak English and they don't know anything about computers or like the website of FastFile. It's like the hardest thing. So like it's having patience with it. If there are first generation students for nursing, unfortunately, you would have to do FastFile through the whole program. If you're in the if you're also in any type of healthcare program, I'm sorry, you have to do FastFile. So there's like, unless you want to audit out of it, but unfortunately, if you do, you don't really get as much money as if you put your parents. I think that's what I have to say. I forgot what else, but if anybody else like picks on it, I'll do it. But yeah, it's always like remembering passwords was like I hate. So always save your password. If you trust your computer, save your passwords. Or like me, I have like a whole like document on like my notes with like all the password, like mine, my younger siblings, like FastFi, even though it's like against the law, but just because I forget it, everybody else forgets it. And it's like whole fight about what is like the security questions I don't know.
No, definitely. And kind of playing off of that, that whole breaking the law part of it, it's definitely there's a lot of terms on there that are really like legal jargon for making you want to make sure that you're not gonna put anything that's gonna get you in trouble. You're not gonna get in too much trouble. You're a high school / first gen college student. They're not gonna throw you in prison, unless you're doing some, scheme stuff. But on that point too, like I worked in a tax office for a summer just doing returns, and when my FAFSA came, I didn't know half the terms. 1040 easy, the IRS tools. I'm like, what the heck? So definitely going off of what Melissa and the other people said, learn the terms and do the research, and don't be afraid to ask the school. Because what I did was, after I had everything set and done, I even scheduled an in-person appointment, before COVID stuff, in-person appointment to just go and sit down to see a breakdown. What's my aid? What do I need to take out in loans? And a lot of that conversation was me kind of talking to the lady about that with my parents in the room. Once again, because your parents in that sense, or your guardians, I should say, they're just as in the dark as you, you know. And with that technological barrier as well, you got to be the one to build that bridge, and in that, having that security of knowing like, okay, everything went smoothly. I'm not going to get a rejected notice like 2 days before it's due, and then have to come up with, sometimes in excess of 20 grand. It's very helpful to make sure that you have your bases covered.
Yeah, and I guess what I would say is similar to what Melissa said. Get the FAFSA done as soon as possible. So I know that FAFSA opened October 1st. So usually when before COVID, I would be on campus or living off campus in Boston. And I guess the biggest tips I would say is get FAFSA done when you come home during the weekend, or aim to get it done before Thanksgiving or during Thanksgiving when you're with your family. Because the longer you take for FAFSA, the less money, I guess, it seems like you're going to get. And let me see, I think, so one more thing is like what everybody was saying about the terminology. It's important to just look online, refer to older students who failed the FAFSA before and get tips from them. How did they do this? And how did they navigate through the FAFSA?
It's definitely cool that you mentioned looking to your other students and other family members who might be in school. I know, for example, my cousin's she just recently graduated and she's doing a master's program, but she was actually a very good resource for me when I was kind of looking at colleges, kind of like looking what to do. We're both first gen in our own households, so it was a very like, she was like, I know your pain, I know your confusion, and it was very beneficial to have at least someone that you can put a name to look up to, whether it be a YouTube channel or your friend or your friend's parents or whatever it may be.
Jeannine said something in the chat. I just wanted to make sure that it was said out loud that the mass grant will not be given to you if you're late on turning it in. And like the mass grant, there's a lot of other grants and scholarships and stuff like that that do have rules like that. It's just sending in one transcript, just sending in one essay, and away from getting that taken away. And for a lot of people, that's very, very, very crucial to whether or not you're able to get the education that you want to get. So like, I guess like a big tip that I would give on that note is also like having your dates for that kind of stuff, like on a notepad, on like your notes on your phone, or like a reminder on your phone, like some sort of like reminder system or like note system that you can like see it and be like, okay, by like November 1st, I need to have this and this done, or like like when I go home, I have to talk about FAFSA with mom, because then I'm not going to be able to get another opportunity until December. So it's like making sure you have all those dates like as important things like on your devices or whatever, because you're always on them. Because things like that, the mass grant, like that's really important, and there's like other things that are really important, and they're very strict with those dates. So just make sure you have those dates like in your mind and somewhere.
Yeah, I want to highlight what Emmanuel said. I think trying to get it done before or during Thanksgiving break is the best option. Or if you can't, then during winter break as soon as you can, just to make sure that you get that aid, because that is very important. I do know some folks that have missed the deadline, which is very unfortunate, but it's really just making sure to keep that in the back of your mind. It is, again, an additional thing, and it stinks. I know when I was a senior in high school, I did have some help from a guidance counselor, but then when I came here as a freshman, I wasn't aware of the resources that Dom was talking about yet. So I sat for hours trying to understand the FAFSA. But I think, again, what folks have said about learning the terminology, once you learn it one time, you should be able to kind of understand it the next year. And also taking into consideration your own income if you do get a job in college. So these are some great points that have been said. Yeah.
Just to also play off of that, one last thing is don't be afraid to apply for every scholarship you can find, whether it be senior year of high school or any year of university, because even if it doesn't apply to you whatsoever, I know that I applied to one. It was the police department scholarship for students doing like law enforcement psych majors or something like that. I'm a communication major, but I ended up getting it because no one else applied for it, yeah, I mean, to whatever extent you want. I put a disclaimer saying, hey, just wanting you to know, if anyone else does it, please give it to them because they're entitled to it more than I am. But, that helps you out, because that's, you can easily get an extra $500 for your semester. And that's a ridiculous amount of money, and especially when you get into like those weird niche scholarship ones where it's like, no essay scholarships, or like just do them all, because you're not going to lose anything by doing them. You're either gonna 15 minutes out of my time came out to nothing, but you could get a substantial amount of money.
Yeah, a lot of good thoughts. And after the first year too, once you have all that information memorized and kind of just you know it, it really only takes 5 to 10 minutes to get it done. But I'm a very heavy procrastinator, so I'll like put it off, and I'm like, this really only took 5 minutes of my time to just submit it, because a lot of the information saves anyways. But yeah, there's a lot of good advice here. FAFSA is definitely difficult and really scary to think about your first year. So, and then for the last 6 minutes, our last question: what ways do you take care of yourself mentally and physically that you would recommend?
I guess I'll start with that one. You need to sleep. It was something that I kind of had to learn the hard way. My first semester, I was, juggling. I was in a show at the time with the performing arts department, and I was also doing like a full course load, and I was also like doing other things and trying to like juggle all those things like at once, and like having a social life. And so I would like, procrastinate like all day, and then start doing work at like 10 p.m. and then like finish at like 4. But guess what? I have an 8 a.m. So like I guess it's like making those bad decisions, and then I'm not paying attention in the 8 a.m. because I'm like my eyes are basically closed. So you need to sleep. It's really bad for you because eventually, it catches up to you. The first couple times you do it, you're like, oh, I'm fine. And then, you start getting into a habit, and then, suddenly it's 2 p.m. and you're like falling asleep because you haven't slept in like a couple days. So and that's definitely not healthy for your brain either. It's not healthy for your mental health at all. So definitely get some sleep. If you need like an extension on something, if something's really giving you a hard time and like you can't figure it out and you've been trying and it just doesn't work, email your professors. At the end of the day, they are here for you. Obviously, you have to be held to responsibilities, but if you really email a professor and you're like, I really need help on this, like I just like one more day or something, like, because I really want to give you a good product. Like I don't want to give you something rushed or like bad. Most professors will try to work with you. They'll be like, okay, well, I'll give you credit. It might not be 100, but they'll give you credit for it. So because I feel like definitely like your health is more important. Like yes, grades are important, but your health is really, really important. And so if that means going to sleep an hour earlier and passing in one assignment late, that's what that means. Or balancing your time better, but it happens to all of us. So definitely prioritize your health over your grades sometimes, because it is 100% more important.
Going off what Melissa was talking about, like health, you guys have to remember to eat. Like even if it's just like an apple or a banana, like try to eat. Like with me, I have like an alarm on my clock. Like every 2 hours, I try to eat like a piece of fruit or something, and drink a lot of water. I've actually ended up in the ER for dehydration because I forgot to drink water because I was, like Melissa said, I would go to sleep super late. And then the next day I would have to wake up for an early class and I would just forget to drink water. And I was drinking like coffee and like juice, but that's not water. Even though it is made of water, it's not water. So don't let that happen to you. Drink water. Like me, I have like a giant like hydro flask. We have like, well, unfortunately we're not on campus, so I can't say go to like the water station. But once we do get back on campus, like we have water stations everywhere. Make sure you drink. Like I said, put an alarm on your clock. Like I said, I do. I have an alarm for water and an alarm to just like even just to eat something, because food is what gives the body energy. So you don't want to like starve yourself. I understand like if people have like, with money, but like I said, we have a lot of sources on school about helping you with food. If you have like, if you don't have money for food, that we have a source, a resource in class at school, I'm sorry, about for free food. So make sure to use that, eat something, drink something, anything. For mental health, pick up a hobby. Like I just got back to like learning how to crochet and do embroidery. My grandma taught us how to do it, but I never really like cared for it. But now like I'm bored at home, so I've made a blanket for my first godson. So it's amazing.
That's really adorable. I did want to maybe take this time to also say, like, once again, health is very important, both mental and physical. So you can do as much as you want, course load, grades, but if you're not healthy in the mind, you're not going to be healthy in the physical, and if you're not healthy in your physical, you're not going to be healthy in your mind. So you want to have that diligence of keeping yourself in check, but also don't be so hard on yourself. One of my biggest things throughout my first year at UMB was that any little thing that I fell on, it made me feel like an entire failure. Like I just wanted to drop out and just start over. But you got to realize, you might be 18 or 19 first going into this, or you might be a little bit later on in age, but you haven't failed yet. You've just started your journey, and you've got so much farther to go. And picking up a hobby, or even trying out other resources that the campus has, extracurriculars, even like just going on a walk, will be so much more beneficial than just sitting around and like wallowing in whatever you might have. If there's kind of I know that there's a better way to put that. But definitely that balance once again between your coursework but also paying attention to your own health. One of my struggles was going to the gym my first semester, and I gained weight, which is not inherently bad, but I've got some body image things that I've needed to work on in the past. So that was definitely a wake up call for me. Like, oh wow, okay, I need to definitely still pay attention to this. And that was definitely a thing for me to figure out. But with that being said too, like playing off of Melisa, if you find that you work best late at night and you wake up for an 8 a.m. class or something like that, that's not a bad thing. You just need to figure out when you work the best and then schedule your rest of your classes around that time. Like my first semester, I very much learned that I do not do 8:30s very well. So I make sure that my earliest class was a 9:30 or a 10 this upcoming year. So there's a lot of trial and error because this is new for all of us. So just kind of give it your best shot, and you'll be all right.
Definitely. And also like not biting off more than you can chew. I think that's definitely something that happens a lot, especially in like the first year of school. I think like obviously yes, it's so good to immerse yourself in as many things as you possibly can, but you need to also be able to do those things and still keep yourself again healthy. And so, if you're making yourself a schedule and you don't have time to like eat in between, like Jeannine mentioned, like that's a problem. You can't be going, and I also made this mistake my second semester of school actually, where I had like class, and then like if I was late to my first class of the day was like at 9:30, and then I had classes that same day up until like 3 or something. And so like, or like 2:30, I remember it was like later in the day. So, and there was no spaces in between. So like if I didn't eat breakfast before that first class, which happened more often than I want to admit, because I was like rushing out of the house because I'm not a morning person, like I wouldn't eat, like my first meal of the day didn't happen until like 3:30 p.m. sometimes, which is terrible for you in general in terms of health. And it's, food gives you energy, like Jeannine mentioned. So then, you're groggy in those middle classes because you're hungry. So definitely make sure that you're looking at your schedule and making sure that you have time for the things you're signing up for. Like look at it ahead. If you're going to sign up for a job or a club, look at the time that it's happening, because if that's your lunchtime, don't switch out your lunchtime for like a job. Maybe like try to tell that job, oh, like I can work later in the day because I can't do that time. So just making sure that you allot times, not just for class but also for you, because you also, it's not even just for eating, but you need a breather too. Like you need to relax mentally between classes. That's also really important.
I know myself, I didn't really read textbooks that much, and then I came to college and it's very different, especially studying like organic chemistry and things like that. I know Emmanuel has some bio knowledge there, so definitely Gillian or Emmanuel, if y'all want to jump into, I don't want to take up too much time today because I know we're at 8:05.
Yeah, I guess what I can say about reading, especially like it's better to get started earlier, like your freshman year, your sophomore year, because as you get older, especially with the requirement to do the write-in portfolio, the the requirement for graduation, and also having to take an intermediate seminar, you're going to see in a lot of your classes that you're going to have to read lots of pages. And I know for me, I prefer watching a video or like listening to something. So like I didn't really enjoy reading in high school and stuff like that. So you should really start reading early and read a lot and find like study groups that you can get into the reading with. It makes everything a lot easier.
Yeah, I really love that point about study groups now. Especially like being in a grad program, like it's really helpful to have other people like looking at your work and reading things. Really circling back to the central points about like caring for ourselves and like setting boundaries, I think is a huge part of that. I often say like freshman, sophomore year, balance was not a word in my vocabulary. Like I was very like one way or the other. Like I was either very, very involved in my schoolwork or either very, very involved in my like work obligations and not really leaving a lot of time for myself, not really leaving a lot of time for those closest to me. And so I really started to feel the effects of that last year and this year. And luckily, in some ways, COVID has brought all of that to a screeching halt where I kind of have to recognize like if I'm on Zoom for 3 hours, taking that break to go outside, those snack breaks. I know we've all been talking about like the food breaks and things like that, making sure it's hydrated. I've just really started to recognize that like taking care of myself is the most important way that I can take care of my college career and like protecting my potential. So I think if you start to identify those things that mean a lot to you, then yeah, it's different for everyone. So
Does anyone have anything else they would like to share before we wrap up? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I really agree with what Gillian said about taking care of yourself. And don't be afraid to sacrifice and tell other people that you really need that time to do your work. Especially like with extracurricular and clubs. I found that freshman year, I was doing a whole lot of different programs and clubs. And they would say, we have a meeting tonight, or we're going on like this weekend retreat, and would you like to come? And I mean, it sounds exciting, but you have to realize that you're in school to learn, and your grades are going to be really impacted if you decide to always say yes. So you have to learn to say no sometimes.
I just one quick point about that. I have mentioned this to a few of my friends and things like that, but I think for me, it's boiled down to how do I continue to be selfless without treating myself less? And that's been like a really important, like, aha, like Jillian matters moment. So just think of like those ways. Yeah.
I resonate with that entirely. That's a really good point, and one of the little things that I kind of coined for myself after ending freshman year, going into sophomore year was one of like those phrases, like go to therapy, love yourself, and don't sweat the small stuff. And surprise, it's all small stuff,
I agree with everything. I just try and be the most productive person that I can possibly be without giving myself a break. I just constantly do that. But lately, what I've been trying to do is just not feeling guilty too, because I feel like that's what kind of happens when you have this mentality that if you're not being productive, you're not doing great things or you're not being the best that you could be. Wrong. You need to take a break. You can't be the best that you could be without rest. So lately I've been just letting myself take the day, like, and not feeling guilty about it. Like today I'm going to sleep until 2 p.m. and that's it. Like there's nothing else about it. I'm not gonna do my homework today, or like maybe tomorrow I'll catch up on the rest of it. Like I'm taking a break for myself. And that's just something that's really important to take into consideration. Just as an overall college student, because it can get really overwhelming and you shouldn't let it consume you and your being. So there's nothing else anyone would like to share. That's about it. It kind of wraps us up. Melisa, do you have anything to say?
Just on that like last thing that you just said about like making sure you like recognize the fact that you need a break. Also, like don't be afraid to like reach out to someone if like it is overwhelming you and it is really taking a toll on you. Like don't put yourself through that like by yourself. Like try to reach out to somebody. If maybe like I can totally understand like not being able to maybe reach out to your parents or something like that, especially if you moved away from home, or even if you are living at home, but you don't want to worry them. You know what I mean? Like I totally understand that, and I resonate with that a lot. So like definitely, the counseling center is there for you, and even if you don't want to go to like like center type place, which again is understandable, even though it's a great resource. Try to reach out to even some of your friends, or even your friends who are at home, or even like people like even like honestly like advisors, professors, like people that are going to be there for you. And your professor might even say, honestly, like, for that one assignment, like I'll give you a couple days off, like take the day off tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like you'd be surprised how many people are actually on your team. So definitely try to find those people who are on your team and reach out to them.
Yeah, 100%, like for sure. But yeah, this was like a really good activity for us to do, or just kind of just check in with each other, sit in. I hope you all learned from it. This is recording, so it'll be available to other students as well. So yeah, thank you for coming to our first student generation panel. Also, as a reminder, you will be getting 25 Beacon reward points, so make sure you drop in your email address into the chat. And yeah, feel free to email us if you have any more questions too. Thank you for coming.
Ooh, thank you to all the panelists